I think it's about time we bring focus to today's special guest, Tessa Virtue. Tessa is probably the most recognized for her achievements on the ice. Along with her partner, Scott Moir, their 5 Olympic medals, including 3 golds, make them the most decorated figure skaters in Olympic history. And Tessa has taken her on-ice accomplishments, combined with her entrepreneurial spirit and business acumen, to create a very successful off-ice career as well. She has partnered with numerous brands and has spearheaded 2 cross-country ice skating tours. Tessa's ambition to be a positive role model for young girls and women has led to her recent collaboration with RW & Co. This campaign aims to promote powerhouse working women in various stages of their careers. So without further ado, would you please all join me in welcoming to our stage Tessa Virtue.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see you. What a beautiful room.
Well, Tessa, thank you so much for being with us here this afternoon and sharing your experience and your wisdom as well with everyone who's here with us today. The theme, actually, for this year's We to She conference is Connecting for Change. And I wonder, could you share with us a bit, what does that mean to you?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I am both inspired and invigorated just being in this room. The energy is palpable. And I think it's clear, connecting for change, what a relevant and meaningful subject for this conference. It's so necessary. And looking around and seeing so many young women, brilliant minds, people who will be blazing new trails and setting new precedents as we move forward, I think it's critically important that we come together to support one another. It's the only way we can continue this movement and change the narrative that so desperately needs changing. And it's interesting as women, I'm sure you've all found this already, it's ingrained in us from such an early age to be competitive and to be pitted against one another. But there's no need for that. I mean, there's room for all of us. And if we can use our power and our strength and come together, there's just no stopping us.
That's terrific, and great words of inspiration for all of us here today. Tessa, when you talk about coming together, one thing that makes me think about is the importance of mentors, really, in helping each of us grow and achieve our aspirations. And I have no doubt that you probably had a number of mentors in your career over your life. Could you perhaps share with us a bit about your thinking about the importance of mentorship and maybe an experience that you had with one of your mentors that was particularly meaningful for you?
I often joke that I'm a little bit obsessed with amassing mentors. I think there's so much to be learned from others' experiences, others' wisdom and insight. And my grandma told me when I was young, she said, youth is wasted on the young. So that struck some chord with me. So I thought, why can't I learn from people who have experienced more than I have? And of course, throughout my sporting life, that served invaluable to me and Scott. We had many athletes that taught us what it meant to be professional, explained what we might face at the Olympic Games, discussed overcoming adversity, really created a safety net of support so that we never felt alone. And I think that's important, to always surround yourself with people who have your back, with people who know what you're going through, and with people who can help you stay the course when there are so many things pulling you in different directions. And now, as I navigate my life away from competitive skating and into the business world, I'm relying on new mentors and people who can broaden my horizons and sort of show me the ropes of what can be accomplished, because I think visibility is really key for women. It's important to know what can be done. It's important to know that we are limitless. We can chase our dreams and our goals, and sometimes we need someone to sort of guide us.
That's terrific advice. And if I heard you correctly, you talked about the importance of surrounding yourself with many mentors, but then also seeking out new mentors as your own personal goals and aspirations change, and looking for those who can help and guide you in the things that are most important to you at that point in time. I think that's terrific advice for all of us. If I think about the audience we have today, Tessa, many are in high school at the moment, and I recall back to my own high school days when I was an adolescent. I think about my own adolescent children, and they're both girls, and what their experiences are. And for many of us, I think at that age, we're full of self-doubt. And I wonder if you could talk to us a bit about that feeling of self-doubt that we all have when we're at that stage in our lives, and also what encouragement you would give to the young women in the room today to really address that self-doubt head on so that they can bring everything that they can to the aspirations that they have.
I've been thinking so much in preparation for this event back to when I was in high school and back to being a teenager and what that felt like. I mean, what a heavy weight. We're faced with so much pressure. Pressure to know what we want to do, who we want to be, what kind of friend we are, what kind of child we are. There seem to be so many people telling us how to act, what to wear, the kind of person we're meant to be. And I think sometimes that voice inside of us gets lost a little bit. You mentioned everyone feeling self-doubt. I mean, I'm 30 and I'm feeling it. I don't think that goes away. But I think we learn to equip ourselves with the tools to combat that self-doubt. We find our power, we find our inner strength through connections just like this, through finding success and defining what that means for you, setting a goal and working towards that. Perhaps it's just the process or the commitment of that breeds some self-confidence or sense of self-worth. But it's something that everyone faces every single day, and we'd all be fooling ourselves if we said that wasn't the case. I think one of the exercises I tend to use in whatever scenario, I think about what I bring to the table. So I may not be the most attractive, the best dressed, the most educated person in a certain room, but I know my skill set, and I know what I bring to the table, and I hope that that's unique. I hope it's different, and I hope that my perspective can resonate with someone. I hope that I can make someone else feel good about themselves. I think realizing our assets and celebrating those, especially if they're different and especially if they're unique, is where that power comes from. And sometimes even addressing it means being vulnerable and just being honest and open with ourselves, with those around us. Finding strength within that is certainly key. And just knowing that you're never alone in that, right? We're all together in that quest to find fulfillment and to find a sense of inner peace as it relates to confidence.
Well, thanks for sharing all that. I certainly heard you say, and I hope everyone around the room can relate to that we're all unique. We all bring unique things to the table. We all have unique abilities and interests. And so maybe a moment for everybody to think about what is their uniqueness and what do they bring to the table. One thing I think everybody in this room probably has in common, despite our uniqueness, is that we all have ambition. We have different kinds of ambition, perhaps, or ambition for different things. Can you tell us a little bit about, from your perspective and given your experiences, what fuels ambition?
It's something interesting you ask, Catherine, because it's something I've been thinking a lot about recently. I grew up with such fierce, strong, independent female role models. My mom, my grandmother, my sister. And they instilled in me this sense of limitlessness. I really thought I could do anything. I thought I could be anyone. And for me, it's this visceral, tangible feeling. it's like this burning inside me where I want to explore my potential. And whatever that may be, I just want to do it to the best of my ability. And I happened to hone that skill set into ice dancing for quite some time. But I think more importantly, it was the recipe for success. And that was just a lot of hard work. Ambition to me is a commitment to the process. It's taking care of the details, and it's staying true to yourself within that, having a really solid sense of what your core values are, and ensuring that every part of your life is in line with those. And then when you're working towards some greater purpose, some task, that's sort of the beacon that guides you. And in the athletic field, I was able to sort of tick some of my goals off a list, but I'm already dreaming big and thinking about what's next. I'm already thinking about how to challenge myself further and in what new realms I can redefine success.
Terrific. Thanks for sharing that. You talked a bit about things that drove you from an ambition perspective to do your training, to be successful in sport, in athletics. You also mentioned values and the fact that you're reinventing yourself now, taking on new challenges. Could you speak with us a bit about your values and how those have driven you to make certain choices in terms of the next steps that you're going to pursue in your professional life?
One of the best things I did many, many years ago was to create a mission statement, a personal mission statement and a professional one as well. And it made decisions quite easy because a potential sponsor would approach me and I would think, is this in line with who I am? Is their core message in line with what I'm trying to do? Even being here with you today, I mean, it's as if we overlapped our mission statements. It couldn't be closer to what it is I'm trying to do and I hope to do. It was an easy decision. I would do anything to be here in this room with you today because I really believe in it. And I know that I will never stand up for something or a company, a product, anything that I don't truly believe in. And you know that feeling when you're not acting in accordance to your own values? It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't sit well. For me, this sort of system of methodically deciding things through that value system has really taken that out of the equation because I know that what I stand for is also being represented in the companies that I also work with.
Wonderful. Thank you. Tessa, you've had lots of successes in your career, both in your athletic career and, of course, now in your business career. One of the things we probably don't talk enough about as we're talking about the challenges we face and how to meet those challenges is that we also fail along the way. There are also times when things don't go as we had hoped or where we have setbacks that are very discouraging to us. I'm sure that you have faced many setbacks on the path to the great success that you've had. Could you talk with us a bit about maybe a setback that you've had and how you overcame that setback?
I've learned to practice failure and embrace it. Actually, not just embrace it, but to anticipate it and value it almost more than success. Because you know all those cliches, those trite sayings about overcoming adversity and that's where you grow? I mean, they're cliches for a reason. And I truly believe that that's where we organically grow into our best selves when we faced some failure. So when I say that I practiced it, for example, Scott and I had this Russian coach for a while, and we would do run-throughs of a program, and every time she blew the whistle, we had to fall and get up. And she might blow that whistle 10 times in a 3 or 4 minute program, and we would fall and get up. And the point was that we refocused immediately, and we continued the program to try and accumulate as many points as possible, so that if that ever happened in a competition, we were ready, we were prepared. And I think I try and approach a lot of things like that. What can go wrong, and how can I best prepare myself? Because there's no better feeling than being prepared. And when we face setbacks and adversity, we're forced to really take a good hard look at ourselves. And we're also forced to figure out, what kind of person do I want to be? What will make me feel good at the end of the day, right? That delayed gratification. What will make me proud of myself? So how you handle certain situations, I think, really dictate and determine the kind of person you are. It's easy for us all to be good people when things are going swimmingly, but we can really showcase our true selves when things aren't going according to plan. And the growth we can experience from those setbacks, more often than not, we always look back and reflect on those moments as pivotal moments of really positivity in the end. And I think sometimes just harnessing that and remembering that in the moment is a really powerful thing.
That's really insightful. I'm just wondering, I'm curious, and would there be an example of something that went wrong, or kind of a negative experience or a setback that you had where there was a learning that you took forward? That I'm just thinking, sometimes we remember best by remembering stories, and I'm sure the young people in the room today would love to walk away with a Tessa story about how you really grow through adversity.
I've had 2 surgeries on my shins and calves, and it was an overuse injury. We decided that to win Worlds, we needed to train 16 hours a day, and unsurprisingly, it didn't work out very well for us. But so within the context of my surgery and rehab, Scott and I totally lost touch. At that point, we had been skating together maybe for 13 years, and we stopped communicating. We broke that trust and that safe place that we had created and cultivated and worked so hard on. And I think one of the most critical parts of our success was that partnership. And the fact that it was broken and we had to go to marriage counseling, see a mental prep coach. We did anything and everything to get back on track, to find common ground, to work together again. It actually made us so much stronger. And we also adapted our training. So we had this mantra for a while that was adapt and conquer, because we couldn't train the way that we had become accustomed to. We couldn't train the way our competitors were. So we did things differently. Mechanically, we did things differently, everything from warm-ups to cool-downs. And it forced us to approach sport in a way that no one had. No one had in ice dance. And that was only because of this setback with the injury. And when we took the ice in Korea at the 2018 Olympic Games, I remember thinking, our competitors didn't stand a chance, because we had been forced to come together in a way that no one else had. We had to take responsibility and accountability for our training in a way that no one else did. And we were so dialed in because of the failure. We were ready to capitalize on one specific moment in time because things didn't go the way we thought they would.
That's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. And if I could just maybe highlight for our young audience, one of the things that I just heard you say, keep in mind, folks, this is a multi-medal winner here in the highest level of competitive sport. Seek help. It's okay to seek help. And in seeking help and in experts, we get better, especially when we hit roadblocks and we're stumbling a little bit. There is a large audience here, Tessa, that is from across British Columbia, actually, in their high school years. And some of them have been, I think, looking at the booths outside during the breaks, and they see different professions and types of organizations being represented. And some of them know with a passion what they want to do with their careers, and some of them aren't quite sure, and maybe it makes them a bit uneasy that they're not quite sure because they feel as though perhaps they should be sure already, they should know. I'm just wondering if you look back at your own career, you've made some choices as well, whether it was early days in your athletic career or later on now as you're entering your business career. Do you have any advice for young people who are trying to focus and kind of figure out what is their passion, what do they want to do when they grow up?
I might have to stop by some of those booths because I'm in that same place. And I think one thing I will say, I had some moments after the 2018 games where I was processing this transformation, this transition period of knowing exactly what I was aiming for, knowing what I needed to do. I mean, there was a time when I could have told you 8 years from now on December 22nd at 2:30 p.m., this is what I'll be doing. And I'm not sure that's entirely healthy, but I don't know that anything is about being an elite athlete. And now I sort of feel like there's a big, big world out there that I get to explore. And I got caught up in this sense of almost self-pity, wondering, how do I apply the skill set? How do I compete with my peers who already have work experience in the market? And then I realized that everyone is going through some kind of transition. We're all still trying to find ourselves. And whether that's changing careers, changing school programs, whether it's a family adjustment, relocating, there are so many things that everyone is constantly battling. And I will say the best advice I could probably give as it relates to finding a career is just to explore and to never be afraid to put yourself out there. How will you know unless you try? And people want to help. I think there's such strength and so many advantages to be gained by just reaching out and asking for help. I mean, you've experienced that even today, I'm sure, with all the mentors. People are keen to help bright, ambitious, young women who are set to take over the world. I mean, everyone is at your disposal, really. So try things and fail and try things and fail again and continue to just broaden the scope of what is possible. Because maybe the job you'll end up with doesn't exist right now. Maybe you'll create it. And how beautiful is that?
You just were speaking about choices and kind of how we identify the right choices to make in some regards. And Tessa, I can't help but reflect upon the fact that over your career, whether it was your athletic career or today in the business world, you must have to make choices about how you take care of yourself. And I know that that's something that we all struggle with, whether it's the young people in the audience who are students, who feel the pressure of school, what comes next, perhaps a part-time job, helping out with the family, whether it's other business leaders in the room who are trying to grow and scale their business, dealing with those challenges. Sometimes I think we feel that there's so much that we have to take care of that we don't take care of ourselves. And I'm just curious, how have you been focused on taking care of yourself through your period as an athlete and now as a businesswoman?
Well, it's funny that's the first thing to go, isn't it? When life becomes overwhelming, it's self-care. That's the first thing out the window. When really that's the center of it all. I mean, how can we be great leaders, business people, students, if we're not rested and properly fueled and feeling energized? And I got to live the most selfish life for 22 years as an athlete. I mean, there's just mandatory naps, constantly in just training gear. I learned that prioritizing that self-care, it bleeds into all aspects of your life. And you guys know, when you work out, you tend to eat better and sleep better, and that just fuels this positive self-talk also in your mind, I think, that loop. And we can train that. We can train that with good habits. And that's just what it is. When something's a habit, it just becomes part of your daily routine. But I think sometimes it's just, more than anything, finding time to connect with yourself. I mean, we're always accessible. We have our devices, and we're needed from our friends and family, and everyone wants a piece of us. And I think it's easy to lose ourselves in the noise. And whatever that means for you, I think it's just important to have a reprieve every now and then, some quiet time to reflect and to recenter so that there's clarity at least amidst the chaos.
Clarity amidst the chaos. I think that's something that we're all looking for constantly. I noticed that we have only a few minutes left this morning, or this afternoon, sorry. I think we could probably go on all afternoon, Tessa, and ask you questions. You've been so generous in terms of sharing your experiences and your wisdom with us here today. The one question that I'd like to end on is, you talked earlier about the expression from either, I think it was your mother or your grandmother, about youth is wasted on the young. And so now that you're still quite young, but you're more mature than you were perhaps as a teenager, if you were to look backwards at your teenage self, given all the things you've learned and experienced so far in your life, what's the most important piece of advice that you would give yourself looking back at that earlier Tessa?
Two things. While patience is a virtue, I'm not the most patient person. And I wish that I knew then that not only is there no shortcut to success, but in fact that the process of working towards a goal is actually the fulfilling part. That's where the gratification comes. And I can say that because I know that it's not the medal, it's not the podium, it's not being an Olympic champion that makes me feel like I was successful. It was that I committed every single day to the process, and I lived and breathed being an athlete. And that comes with adversity and everything. It's that process, it's the journey, and I hate myself for saying that, but it's true. I wish that I knew that that's where the joy comes. The hard work is where you find the joy. And I also wish that I could tell young Tessa just that she was enough. And it's what I would say to all of you in this room. You're enough, and you're perfect just the way you are right now. And, don't be afraid of your quirks and the things that separate you from the masses. Be vulnerable and share your story and share your truth, because that's what connects people. And that's what, aren't we all craving authenticity now in today's world especially? Those are the people I'm drawn to. Those are the stories I want to hear and learn from. And just know that you all have within you exactly what you need. It's all right there for you. And I can't wait to see what you do with it. I know I'll be your #1 fan and cheerleader on the sidelines. I'm rooting for you every single step of the way. Just know that. You have a really vast network of support behind you.
So that's an absolutely beautiful and authentic note to end on. Thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.